Hey guys, welcome to today's video. So first I'm going to start off this look by applying primer all over the skin. And then I'm going to apply this under eye corrector all over areas on my skin that have that are dark and have dark spots. So that's a couple of like blemished areas that haven't completely healed. Not necessarily pimples, but more so spots that were pimples and now are just dark blemishes and haven't, like, the pigmentation hasn't like returned back yet. So I'm applying that in the area and then letting it dry, especially under my eye. I want to get that dry because then it's going to be a little bit more tacky and give a little bit more correcting. So this on screen, it kind of looks like the color is white, but it's actually an orange salmon color. So that's why I use this under eye corrector, because of the orange, which cancels out the blue in the dark spots on the face and corrects those areas. Next, I'm going to apply a lighter foundation to the center of my face. I do this because I like to keep the center of my face pretty bright, especially kind of for the camera, really. And so I only apply a lighter foundation to the center of my face. It's kind of like a highlighting hack, if you will. And then I was going to use the stippling brush to blend it in, but I really did not like the way that this was going. Have y'all ever used a brush continually for years, over and over again, fell in love with it, or you are in love with it, and then you retire it and then try to go back to it? Well, that was my story with this brush, and it just was not giving me the coverage that I wanted. You see how I'm like really working hard to even just get an even coverage. It's almost like I felt like I forgot how to use the brush or something. You'd think it was like riding a bike, but it wasn't, and it almost acted like it was kind of drinking most of the product than anything else. So I just let that foundation dry a little bit before going on to my next step. So the next step was me concealing these blemishes. The blemishes are not necessarily dark circles on my face. They were areas that were raised and gave texture to my skin. So I used this cream to powder foundation to apply this to those areas and press it in with my finger. I used cream to powder foundation instead of regular concealer simply because I found that this, number one, it's not going to move underneath my foundation, so wherever I put it, it's going to stay. Cream to powder is also full coverage, and then it also dries matte, so I knew that it wasn't going to give a lot of texture or shine or anything like that. So it dries to kind of like a powder finish. So I like to use that instead of concealer. And whatever I put on top of it is just gonna cover it up, and you guys are gonna kind of see that a little later. So I just finished applying another layer of the lighter foundation to the center of my face because my brush drank it up the first time. Now I'm going to apply the matching foundation that actually matches my skin around the perimeter of my face. And then I'm going to blend it in with the fat part of the Beauty Blender. After that is blended in, I'm now going to identify where the lines of the light foundation and the dark foundation meet and use the pointy part of the Beauty Blender to bounce on top of that line, and this will help to blur the line between that light and darker foundation, helping to kind of create that ombre effect and blend those two colors together. Now after that, I'm going to go ahead and highlight underneath my eyes using a concealer that is about 3 to 4 shades lighter. I was about to say darker, lighter than my complexion, and apply this underneath my eye, but first starting along my nose. So I'm using my beauty blender, the pointy part of the beauty blender, to gently blend out this concealer, and I apply concealer underneath the eye like this because it just kind of brightens up that whole area, and using a lighter concealer under the eye like this just kind of brings everything forward. Sometimes, especially if I don't get a lot of sleep, underneath my eyes can kind of look a little bit, I don't want to say sunken in, but not as plump and juicy as they normally would if I got enough rest. So I like to apply this underneath my, I usually apply a highlighter underneath my eyes, even if I'm doing like any kind of makeup. If I'm in front of the camera doing, you know, a YouTube like this, or if I was going to run to the store, I think my number one thing that I would do, if anything else, is probably highlights under my eye. Not even brows, not even lipstick. Like, I'm just like, can I just get a highlight in, you know, before running to the store? So it's really important for me to highlight underneath my eyes personally. Now I've taken the concealer, the highlighting concealer, and I've highlighted along the bridge of my nose, my chin, and my forehead. And now I'm just using the pointy part of the beauty blender to blend those out. And this is what's just going to tie the highlighting together. Now I'm going to switch and do the opposite, and I'm going to contour, and I'm going to use a a concealer that is 3 to 4 shades darker than my skin tone with a foundation brush, and apply it along my forehead and just kind of outline my forehead and also along my cheekbones, and blend it up towards that highlight that I applied kind of on the top of my cheekbones. On my chin, I'm also going to apply a little bit of contour just at the tip of the chin, and this kind of gives the illusion that my chin is a little bit shorter than it naturally is. Now with the fat part of my beauty blender, I'm going to now bounce this along the contour of my face and blend out the contour first. So when I'm blending out the highlighting contour, I'll use one part of the sponge to blend out the highlighting part, and then like the pointy part like I'm using here, and then the fat part of the sponge to blend out the contour. And I flip between the two so that the highlight and the contour, so it won't get ruddy, but they'll just kind of easily ombre into each other. Now with the pointy part of the beauty blender, I'm going to take this lighter setting powder and apply this to all the areas underneath my eye that are highlighted in order to set the cream concealer that's on top, that's on there already. And I'm using the pointy part of the beauty blender because that is the area that's designated for the highlighting or lighter parts of my skin. So I'm just pressing this into underneath my eye, and then I'm also going to press it on top of my eyelid to prepare my eyelid for eyeshadow a little later. So this powder is not going on top of bare skin because there is already, while there's not highlighting concealer on my eyelids, there is foundation on there. So it does have something to grab onto. With a dome-shaped eyeshadow brush, I am going to sweep Cinnabar eyeshadow, which is a matte brown eyeshadow with kind of a reddish undertone, into the socket of my eye. So the socket of my eye is kind of that little hollow space along the eyelid that is right below the brow bone and above my eyeball. So it's a little kind of if you were to poke your finger into your eyelid, it's that little space that's kind of hollow. And I do this because I'm kind of contouring that area to make my eye appear a little bit larger than it naturally is. So I'm really just taking advantage of a lot of the space that is on my upper eyelid as opposed to focusing a lot of the attention on my lower lid, which does not have as much room as the upper eyelid. Now with my finger, I'm going to apply eye primer to my eyelid, and what this does is it's going to help whatever color I put on top of it to intensify and really stick throughout the day, but mostly I use it for the intensity. So I use the my finger, and I'm just going to press this on top of my eyelid. Y'all, I have been growing my nails out, like I haven't been cutting them down short like I usually have, and applying products with my fingers is not as easy as it used to be. I am so sorry, y'all, especially you guys who out there who have long nails, and I've been like, oh, just press it, just use your fingers. I now understand it's not as easy. It's not. Yeah, sorry guys, I'll probably have to kind of modify that in the future. After applying hazelnut eyeshadow, which is a cool tone brown, all over the eyelid, all over the area that I want intensified, I'm going to use this thin eyeshadow brush to apply this dark brown eyeshadow right into the socket of my eye. I'm going to look straight into the mirror and kind of trace out a crease. I'm trying to explain it as effectively as possible, but I'm basically tracing out my socket crease. And I'm doing that with the point of the brush, and I'm going slowly and kind of using it like it's a pencil, and I'm sketching the color onto the eyelid, because doing it in one fell swoop will guarantee that you won't get like a very straight line or a very clean line. So I'm looking straight into the mirror, making sure that you know, the color placement is right where I want it, and it's right into my eye socket and not on my eye crease or folds where my eyelid actually naturally creases. I don't want it there, because when my eye opens, it's gonna just kind of cover it up. So it's going above the crease, and basically it gives the illusion a little bit that it's a cut crease when it's not. But it kind of looks like that a little bit. And then once I get that line squared away, I'm going to kind of flick the color up into the socket just a little bit, just so that it's kind of pulling away from such a harsh line. Next, I'm going to take another dome-shaped brush with a brown that matches my skin tone to the closest the one that matches my skin tone the closest, which is again Cinnabar. I'm going to go ahead and blend over it to soften out that line. So I'm just going to blend out over that kind of faux cut crease that was just created, just to soften it out a lot. Now I'm going back to that big fluffy dome brush, the one that I used in the beginning, because there's this area on my eyeshadow that just wouldn't blend out properly. So I'm just kind of going over it several times just to make sure that it's kind of blended out evenly before moving on to the next step. Now with an angle eyeshadow brush, I'm going to take this black eyeshadow and connect from that faux cut crease and connect it to my bottom eyelid in an angle. And what this does is it kind of creates a little bit of a cat eye shape on my eyeshadow. And I'm going to continue this shape up a little bit past the little faux cut crease. And then I'm going to go over it with my eyeliner after this, and it's going to create a real cat eye. So that just kind of started me off and gave me kind of a footprint to trace out later. Now I'm just creating a regular line with my gel eyeliner and connecting it to that wing on the outer corner, and that's going to give me an instant winged eyeliner look. After that, I'm going to go over my lashes with mascara to prep them for false lashes. Before applying the rest of my face, I'm going to apply face powder to my skin that actually matches my skin tone. So I'm going to go over all the areas that I've highlighted, all the areas that I contoured all over the face with the same color face powder, and that's what's going to bring everything together. Now I'm going to apply false lashes. This is actually a false eyelash and a half, so it's 1.5 lashes that are what's called stacked. And stacked means that 2 lashes are stacked on top of each other. So on the outer corner there is a half lash, and it gives kind of more fullness and length on that outer corner, and then even on top of that outer corner, all the way to the inner corner of my eye, there is one complete lash in kind of a wispy style, meaning that the outer corner is longer than the inner corner. So it just kind of gives the illusion that my eye is a little bit elongated but also lifted, because the eyelash being on the outer corner a little bit longer and fuller gives the illusion that my eye is lifted on the outer corner. Now along my bottom waterline and then also along my bottom lash line, I'm going to apply black gel eyeliner. I'm putting this gel eyeliner in my waterline because it's going to help my eyes look more defined, and then I'm putting it underneath and along my bottom lash line because it's going to make my eyes appear a little bit larger. Now with my blush brush, I'm going to apply this orange cheek color that has a little bit of a reflex to the top of my cheekbone. And I'm going to apply this in circular motions so that it really does blend into my skin and I don't get that streak effect. Now along my lips, I'm going to apply this lip liner to my natural lip line. And then I'm going to fill in the rest of the lip with this lip liner. I'm doing this because I want a brown lip color that has kind of a reddish undertone. And this brown liner actually does have that. Many times when I'm using lipsticks, they won't have a red undertone. They'll have more of a purple undertone. And but lip liners brown lip liners at that, tend to have a red undertone. And that's the look, you guys.